Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nick, and today we are going to be reacting to the 1996 film Scream. I have seen Scream. I have seen Scream probably at least 100 times. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. As many of you may know, Scream 5 is slated to come out in January, and it is by the same team who brought us Ready or Not, which I love. So I have a lot of faith and confidence in the new movie. And since it comes out in January, I thought it would be fun to do the first 4 Scream movies leading up to the fifth film's release. As this is not my first time watching the movie, there is going to be more of me talking. If, you know, there are diehard Scream fans watching this, there's probably a lot of stuff that I'm going to say which you have heard before. Maybe you're just a casual Scream and horror movie viewer and you may not know a lot about the background of the movie and stuff like that, so this could be fun. But I'm also going to be providing, obviously, my thoughts on the film and the scenes and characters and aspects. Before we get into it, make sure to like, comment, and hit the alert button so that you can get alerts for when I upload a new video. Let's get into the movie. So this is actually the first film in the franchise, first and only film in the franchise where the opening title card occurs before the film, or like the actual scene starts.
Who are you trying to reach?
What number is this?
What number are you trying to reach?
I don't know.
It happens. Take it easy.
So it was a little bit different in the later sequels, but when they were making this one, Roger L. Jackson, who does the voice on the phone, who also is the voice of Mojo Jojo, he was kept separate, so none of the cast members who spoke with him ever met him. I don't believe it was until the Scream 2, which came out a year later, that people actually started to meet him.
Hello?
Why don't you want to talk to me?
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so.
I feel like this came out in a time where a random person could call you on the phone and you weren't like immediately stranger danger. Like, I like the fact that she is sort of entertaining the conversation with him a little bit. She's just having fun.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Is that the one where the guy had knives for fingers?
Yeah, Freddy Krueger.
Do you have a boyfriend?
No.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
I would have shit myself right then and there. I would have shit myself. It would have been over for me.
You listen, you little bitch. You hang up on me again, I'll cut you like a fish, understand? Can you handle that? Blondie.
A couple years ago for Halloween, we were decorating a friend's yard for Halloween, and I recreated Casey's dead body with a fake skeleton hanging from the tree. I loved it. A lot of people get annoyed that she was asking who's there, and I get that the whole, you know, it's part of the film, it's a commentary on horror tropes, but it makes sense that she was asking who's there because she knew that her boyfriend was on his way over.
He's big and he plays football and he'll kick the shit out of you!
I don't know if people have like noticed this, but it's very 90s, but I like that she's getting ready to watch a video, and on the television screen behind her, the channel is on channel 3, which was always the channel that you had to turn on so that your VHS player would cast to the screen.
Oh, God!
I wouldn't do that if I were you. I want to play a game. Then he dies right now.
So we know, obviously, like everybody that's seen this film, like Billy and Stu are the killers. But there's like still to this day debates on who killed who was doing what during this scene. My takeaway or understanding or interpretation of everything is Billy was on the phone, whereas Stu was the one waiting outside watching, like keeping an eye on Steve. Because there's the later section, a couple scenes from now, where they're all sitting around the fountain, and Stu is the one who responds to Sydney's question of how you gut someone. And the fact that Steve gets gutted leads me to believe that it was Stu who killed Steve. And I think Billy kills Casey.
Name the killer in Friday the 13th.
Jason! Jason! Jason!
Afraid not? No.
I saw that movie 20 goddamn times!
Then you should know Jason's mother, Mrs. Voorhees, was the original killer.
So this scene right here with Steve's body, I like how Wes Craven sort of like manipulated the MPAA because they were brutal on this film and they submitted it so many times and they kept giving it an NC-17 rating because they said that there was too much gore. So what Wes Craven did is, to trick them, he went and added even more gore to the film in certain shots, submitted it, and they were like, absolutely not, you need to trim this down. So then he went back and he trimmed it down to the original version that he submitted, and they were like, okay, yeah, R rating. With these films, something that at least the first two do that I really, really enjoy is the houses, the environment, the town of Woodsboro really almost is its own character in the sense where Wes Craven, the way that he directed this, he makes sure that before like the big death scene or attack happens, you understand the layout of the house that you're in and like the location that you're in. I feel like that really helps with giving you an understanding of when she's running and trying to hide and doing whatever, like you understand the layout of the place. And I feel like that's very, very important to add realism to it. I know a lot of people get frustrated by her stopping, but I feel like when you're dealing with that level of stress, my interpretation is she came around and she saw her parents and she thought like at that moment the parents were going to notice her. So this is something I definitely want to focus on because I feel like the later films lose this. What makes this part right here so effective is the realism that is added to it. Like are her parents going to notice her? Her reaching out and struggling to speak, but being unable to because she's got like blood in her lungs. And as disturbing as it is, it's effective because it makes you emotionally feel for that character. The film knows when to have fun with itself, but it also knows when it has to be extremely realistic and disturbing and grounded.
So, you thought you would climb my window and we'd have a little raw footage?
No, I wouldn't dream of breaking your underwear rule.
His hair must just feel so gross. I love Skeet Ulrich, but that hair... Timeline-wise, they killed Casey and Steve. Billy went to Sydney's to be able to set up his whole red herring alibi thing later. And Stu went to Tatum's. And I always feel like that's like a funny sort of thing to think about is like, at least from Stu's perspective, he just committed a murder and immediately afterwards goes to, I'm assuming they were at Tatum's house. Like he immediately goes to a cop's house.
Classrooms, and that they are involved in the occult.
Blink and you miss a moment, although you do see her again later. That was Linda Blair in the background from The Exorcist.
Leave this shit. Tatum, what is going on? You don't know?
Casey Becker and Steve Orth were killed last night.
One thing that I also enjoy about this film is the costuming. Now I know Rose McGowan got to pick a lot of her outfits for this film. From a narrative perspective and character's perspective, if you notice when you're watching the film, the characters sort of adhere to like the same sort of color scheme. Like aside from when they're at Tatum's house, like Sydney is primarily wearing like blues and grays. Tatum is usually wearing like yellows and usually like yellows and then some sort of like wacky skirt. Aside from the scene on her porch, hers is a little bit more fun girl. Like Stu is usually wearing tans. Billy is usually wearing a white t-shirt. Randy is usually dressed in greens.
Sheriff Burke, Dewey?
That's Deputy Riley today, Sid.
How is everything?
Good.
And your dad? How's he doing?
We're fine, thanks.
We're gonna keep this very brief, Sydney. The police just want to ask you a few questions. You okay?
I'd be curious. I don't know, like in the original script, if they had that little moment of Principal Himbry touching her face, because A, that's inappropriate, and obviously the sheriff clocks that. But I know that his death was written while they were in production into the script because there was just a huge chunk of time where nobody got killed. It gives the kids later on at the party a reason to leave the party and clear out the house.
Did you really put her liver in the mailbox? Because I heard that they found her liver in the mailbox next to her spleen and her pancreas.
Also, I want to know what Sydney's dad does for a living, because the people in this town are loaded.
Although this is not the first time the small community of Woodsboro has endured such tragedy. Only a year ago, Maureen Prescott, wife and mother, was found raped and murdered not far from this peaceful town square. So
one of the things that I find really effective about this film in regards to the story of Maureen Prescott is I know some fans want to see it, and I don't know why, but like we don't need to see Maureen's death. There's this entire backstory that has happened before the film even starts. And it's just like this thing that sort of hangs over the film, and like, yes, obviously it's integral to the film's plot, but I feel like that's something that I want back in 5, mostly because as much as I love the character of Sidney Prescott, it is starting to become a little bit unrealistic that she's still the center focus of these films and she hasn't gone batshit crazy. I think it's time to move on from the Sidney Prescott story. I don't think it's necessary that they kill her, but I think it's time to move on.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, come on, you know I don't watch that shit.
Why not? Too scared?
No, it's just what's the point? They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
There seems to be like this idea that every single time, like you have to have within the movies a scene of Ghostface calling and asking horror movie trivia. The only time that he calls and actually asks horror movie trivia is with Casey Becker. Like they're talking about horror movies here, but he's not like asking her trivia questions. And that's why I never understood the later focus with that, especially with fans. But to be honest, I really don't understand the constant fascination in future films and with the fan base with Billy and Stu.
Can you see me right now? Ah, okay.
What am I doing? Huh?
Nice try, Randy. Tell Tatum to hurry up, okay? Bye now.
If you hang up on me, you'll die just like your mother. Do you want to die, Sydney?
Okay, so this here is supposed to be Stu. And everyone may notice this, but when he's running up the stairs behind Sydney, you actually hear Matthew Lillard's voice saying, "Easy, easy, Sid." And like, obviously, upon first watching, you wouldn't maybe not even catch that, but it's there. So she literally just dialed 911. And within maybe 60 seconds, she runs downstairs and there's multiple police cars already in front of her house, which leads me to believe that either Billy or Stu, probably Billy, had already called the cops to set up the whole Billy getting, arrested to throw suspicion off of him later on in the movie. But like, the police would have traced the call, even if it was Neil's clone cell phone. Like, why would Neil have called the police if he wanted to kill Sydney? So I feel like that is a slightly tiny little plot hole.
Kenny?
Yeah?
I know that you're about 50 pounds overweight, but when I say hurry, please interpret that as move your fat tub of lard ass now!
She is a mess. I love her, but she is a mess.
Got bored, I decided to go for a ride.
Did you happen to ride by Casey Becker's house?
No. No, I didn't. Sheriff, I didn't kill anybody.
Billy's dad is creepy as shit looking.
So, how's the book? Well, it'll be out later this year.
Oh, I'll look for it.
I'll send you a copy.
Nev Campbell really sold it in that shot, or that entire scene. Because if you look at her face, like the second that she turns around and is like going to be a part of the conversation, you just can tell in her face that she was planning on punching her regardless of what she said.
Thought you might want some ice for that right hook.
Yes.
I'll be right next door. Try to get some sleep.
Yeah.
I always thought this was weird, and I know this has been brought up a lot, but like, why does Tatum have 2 twin-sized beds in her room? Like, Dewey's not sleeping in the same room with her, so why does she have 2 beds in there?
Cotton Weary is currently awaiting appeal for the death sentence handed down after the young Sydney testified against her. She was the key witness in the state's case against
The mom here? I don't know. Like, I feel like she would have been told that she received phone calls during her attack. She doesn't seem to question who is on the phone when they call her house. And then she just stands there behind Sydney as she's watching this newscast about her mother's murder. It's weird to me.
Stop right there.
I'm not here to fight, I just need to talk.
Kenny, camera now.
Off the record, no cameras. Forget it. Please. You owe me.
Your mother's murder was last year's hottest court case. Somebody was gonna write a book about it.
Right, and it had to be you with all your lies and bullshit theories.
I love this scene because I feel like this, once obviously I talked about, you know, the complex story with Maureen Prescott's murder being a big thread throughout this film, and it's something that happened before the film's events. But I feel like this scene is very realistic in the sense, like, it reminds me of like a police procedural drama. Aside from the fact that there's murders happening and that these are high school students, I feel like it adds an adult level to the film.
Why are they doing this?
Are you kidding me? Look at this place. It's like Christmas.
Stupidity leak.
I say stupidity leak all the time.
Sorry, please understand.
Understand what? I have a girlfriend who would rather accuse me of being a psychopathic killer than...
Of all the times that I have seen this film, I never noticed this, but the sign above the stairwell says mother-daughter breakfast. And I think that that was a really cool touch. I'm shocked that I've never noticed that before, especially considering they're talking about their mothers.
Your parents split up. This is not the same thing. Your mom left town. She's not lying in a coffin somewhere.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's a bad analogy.
It's interesting if you look at it from the point of he's trying to diminish what happened with her mother because he wants to sleep with her and he wants his girlfriend back. And she's demonstrating what a huge impact her mother's death has had upon her, which obviously is realistic and makes sense. And he's acting because on his end, his mother leaving played a huge part in him going on a murder spree. So I just always thought that that was an interesting dynamic between the two, the way that he underplays it to her, like it's not that serious, when in reality, it is serious because it's a huge catalyst with what he's doing in this film. I absolutely love this scene because, again, I feel like it gives it a more realistic, dark tone. Like, these girls are nasty. But I also feel like that narratively, this scene is necessary because it hammers in Sydney's inner conflict with not wanting to become her mother, which goes hand in hand with why she doesn't want to have sex with Billy. Because he explicitly says to her that, you know, when they first started dating, it started out hot and heavy and they were getting close to having sex. And her mother is labeled, like, she's hella slut-shamed in this movie, but her mother is labeled as a slut, so then she takes a step back when it comes to physical intimacy with Billy. And I feel like this entire film is that conflict of her doubting herself and second-guessing everything because she doesn't want to become like her mother, not recognizing that she just needs to trust her own instincts, like she does near the end of the film.
Someone there?
Also, there still seems to be people who are confused by this scene. This is not Billy and Stu. This is simply another example of people putting on the costume to humiliate and scare the shit out of Sydney. This is not Billy and Stu. I hate that mask. I hate that mask before they replaced it with the other one.
Shits. You call me?
Now, of course we love Wes Craven in the Freddy Krueger outfit, where I get that they're playing on horror movie tropes, but like the way that this is framed, like, you know for a fact that he's behind the door, which isn't, you know, I'm not a huge fan of how over the top his screams were. I do love that shot though. I love that shot. But yeah, like I don't know. Like you knew he knew he was behind the door. His death cries are very campy. The hood is like halfway over the mask.
There's been talk about other men. And you believe it?
Well, I mean, you can only hear that Richard Gere gerbil story so many times before you have to start believing it.
I think this is a very, very good scene for Tatum's character because it really does demonstrate that she cares for Sydney a lot. She wants to protect her, but she's also aware that there's like a sense, not delusion, but like Sydney's not admitting certain things to herself, which Tatum, hold on, I had to pause. That is so stupid. If there's anything in this film that I wish could be removed, it's Ghostface in the bushes and Ghostface in the grocery store.
There's always some stupid bullshit reason to kill your girlfriend. That's the beauty of it all. Simplicity. Besides, if it gets too complicated, you lose your target audience.
Aside from like one or two details, he literally just flat out calls out the entire reveal. Like he knows that Billy set it up and it was a red herring. He knows that Sydney's father is involved. He knows that Sydney not having sex with Billy is a factor. This is one thing I've always thought was weird, and maybe there's like an actual explanation that would make this make sense, but it seems odd to me that given that there was a curfew, that Dewey would bring them to this party instead of keeping them safe. Like, I don't know why she wasn't just kept at the police station. But then I guess it's not a huge stress considering like Dewey walks into this house and allows these underage teenagers to drink. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be a commentary on Dewey's, how shitty he is at being a cop, but...
I just think you're awesome. Oh, thank you very much. I watch your show religiously.
Do none of the teenagers in this scene, like, question why the Gale Weathers is randomly at their high school party?
Should I be worried?
This. Okay, this right here... It's a beautiful set piece for this movie, the whole concept of the camera and the 30-second delay, but she literally has a recording. Gail has a recording after this movie of the entire killer reveal and Stu's death and everything like that, and it just seems so weird to me that that's never brought up again. Like, she recorded everything. I like this part because if you think about it from Billy's perspective, and it's 100% Billy in this scene. Like, he's not just there just to kill her, like, he's with her. As unrealistic as this is, I do love this scene. Fun little trivia fact, Rose McGowan added in where she yells mom just as she's about to be crushed. She added that in, and I thought that was a cool addition. Again, humanizing the characters, making it a little bit more realistic.
There she is.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, Billy, hey.
I like that little look that he gives Billy, like, yep, Tatum's dead.
No, it's okay. We do need to talk.
Again, knowing that these two are the killers, I think that this provides the way that they interact with each other, like the small little subtle things that they do, like you can tell when watching it again, the dynamic between the two of them knowing that they are the killers. He yells at Stu earlier on in the film when he's talking about being gutted, like, shut the fuck up, like, you're revealing, like, why would you know how to do that? You're giving it away. And then the comment about subtlety and then hitting him as he walks past. Like, it really reinforces the whole thing that, like, Billy is sort of the mastermind and Stu is the lapdog. We'll put aside the whole Roman thing until we watch Scream 3.
That's why she always outsmarted the killer in the big chase scene at the end. Only virgins can do that. Don't you know the rules? What rules? You don't...
One thing that I wish they would have done, now clearly both of the characters, well not clearly, because both of the characters that Himbry expels are in this scene. And it's also the one that Dewey takes the beer from and then hands it back to him when he first enters the party. I feel like had they casted different actors who were a little bit more distinct looking, that it would have helped hammer in the whole red herring thing, because clearly, like, I feel like upon first watch you don't really realize that it's them. They just seem like they're a little bit too, like, sounds horrible, bland, but I feel like had they been a little bit more distinct in their appearance and their clothing and stuff, like, we would have recognized that these two people were there, and we would have really started suspecting that it was them. The only time that we would have not is the second that they leave the party. So again, from a storytelling perspective here, Stu did the whole "I'll be right back" thing. He goes into the kitchen, and then they have the shot of him, like, saying goodbye to a couple people. But it's like, basically what happened is he said goodbye to a couple of the people, and then called Randy to get to tell him that to get the rest of the people out of the party, and then goes upstairs and waits for Sydney and Billy to finish having sex. It's a really well-crafted story from that perspective.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine.
This is another important scene. So this goes right back to what I was saying earlier about Sydney sort of slowly starting to take her power back. So she took her power back initially. Well, she started with the whole having sex, which is going against the rules. She's saying, I don't want to be my mom, but I'm still going to have sex because I can have sex without being my mom. But then sort of what, like, really makes her the final girl is her constant questioning of things. Like, she maybe doesn't get it as much as Randy does, but she still gets it. Like, even after having sex with him, she's still calling him into question. She's noticing that there's flaws in the story that he's telling her. Now, one thing I've always wondered here, we just saw Billy put his shirt on, and he didn't have, like, little blood packs or anything underneath him. So I'm just curious as to the logistics. Like, I know, like, his back is turned to us, so I'm assuming it's Stu that comes in with something, and he's, like, throwing the blood on him or something. I'm just curious as to how that worked. Again, another example of showing you the layout of this house so you understand. I don't know, it makes, sort of brings you in a little bit more so you feel like you're there right alongside of her. This would be traumatizing to me. Not only that happening, but immediately seeing your best friend's mutilated body.
Long 30-second delay.
The 30-second delay is a really, really clever and inventive set piece. I hope they have something not like that. I just hope that Scream 5 contains, it's fresh, it's inventive set pieces. I don't want them to just keep trying to recreate set pieces from previous movies. I want them to be fresh. I'd be curious as to how the rest of the film would have gone down had Billy, or if Dewey, who was standing directly in front of his cop car, would have just radioed the police right then and there. Oh, this is one of my favorite set pieces from the whole movie. I love this. I love this scene.
Hello, help me please. I'm at Stu Mucker's house on Turner Lane. It's 261.
What's cool is if you look in the background, you can see him crawling into the back of the car. Now, that was clearly Stu, so he ran off to the left, took off the costume. And then you see Stu dart over. See? Pretty clever.
No, I didn't. Please give me that gun. Give me that gun, guys, man. No, I didn't.
Also, the way that they're both of them, their performances right now, Stu does not, like, his panic does not look realistic, whereas Jamie Kennedy's does. And I feel like that, again, was intentional because Stu is the killer.
Surprise, Sydney.
This scene is fantastic. It is dark. It is twisted.
Matter, Sydney, you look like you've seen a ghost.
Why are you doing this?
It's all part of the game, Sydney.
Guess how I'm gonna die?
Face it, Sydney, your mother was no Sharon Stone.
I always thought this part was interesting here because it seems like Stu did not know about the affair between Billy's mother, or Billy's father and Maureen, based on this upcoming shot right here.
How's that for a motive?
Like, he just seems clueless to this.
Guess we won't be needing this anymore.
Yeah, and oh, look at this. Ring, ring. Won't need this. Got the ending.
So, realistically, they would not have gotten away with this because their DNA evidence would have been inside the costumes. Unless they were planning on switching the shirts before the police arrived, the police would have shown up and examined Billy's shirt and been like, why the hell is there corn syrup all over your shirt? But on top of that, they were planning on framing Neil. And I get the impression that Neil has been like taped up since he was abducted, which means that he would have had marks from the tape on his face, his ankles, his hands, which would have called everything into question.
Now!
This is sort of the first example of what Sydney tells Jill in Scream 4 is, you'll slip. They always do. Her seeing them go back and forth and getting frustrated with each other. Like, she's smart. She recognized this is potentially an opening here.
And I'll untie Pops, okay?
Now!
I like the sound effect of the blood dripping because I feel like that really hammers in the fact that Billy did cut him too deep and he's really starting to bleed out. So it's very hard to see, but like you can, if you look at Sydney in the background, you can see her looking down at the dad and she's like tensing up, like she's trying to pick her moment of when to run.
Works better without the safety on.
Also, I like that Gail is smart enough that she's not knocked unconscious. She's conscious. She's faking it because he makes the comment to her about the safety. And when she comes back and she shoots him later, she comments on the safety. So she's just playing dead. It just sort of adds to the chaos of the scene. I never understood, why did she put the costume on? Was that to like hide her in the dark or something? Because Neil didn't have a costume on.
In your dreams.
Also, Stu is dead. He's dead. If you were alive in the 90s, you know exactly how heavy those TVs were. So this whole thing about, is Stu gonna come back? I don't care if he was approached to come back in the third one because it was never mentioned that he could potentially be alive after the second. It's a stupid thing and I'm glad that it hasn't been used. He's dead.
I never thought I'd be so happy to be a virgin. Fuck you!
Also, this shot right here when he raises this knife, it's the same shot of when the knife is raised to kill Casey. And I thought that that was a really clever bookend between the beginning and the end of the movie. So this is the end of the film. My first time ever actually seeing Scream. Now, my mother, she doesn't really remember, but I saw this in theaters. And I was like 5 or 6 or something like that. And I remember seeing this in theaters. And it's my first memory of ever seeing a movie in a movie theater. So I feel like this and Halloween were the two biggest influential movies for me that made me love horror. So yeah. Don't have much to say after the fact because I literally said everything that I had to say during the movie. Next month, I will do Scream 2, which is my personal favorite of the franchise. And we will do, so wait, September will be Scream. October will be Scream 2. November will be Scream 3. And December will be Scream 4. And Scream 5 comes out in January. Let me know what you thought about this movie in the comments, and I will see you next time.